This one's gonna be a long one. Grab some popcorn, grab some snacks, and enjoy the discussion. So, when I started seeing the new trailers, and this is going to be off the cuff. It's not going to be really that organized, or you'll just get what you get, okay? When I started seeing some of the trailers come in, I started to think to myself a couple of things. One, what the hell is going on? Because they started to throw this idea that, is Tifa alive or not, right? Because in the trailer, the Sephiroth clearly states, "You know I killed her. How is she still here?"
Do you know that I killed her? So, who is she?
This is not a line, bro. This is not a line in the original. This is not a secret hidden line. Sephiroth never says, "I killed her." Okay? So instantly my head went to, oh my gosh, is she alive? Is she really alive? Did he kill her in Nibelheim? Or when you complete the side quest, Tifa's ultimate weapon, or I think, is it her ultimate weapon or a super? I forget. You go play the piano in her room, and Zangan left a friggin' note that says, "I saved her." So we know she didn't die. So is this just Sephiroth trying to manipulate Cloud by saying, like to second guess himself? It could be that. Because I actually think two things. One, there's a possibility in this game where Cloud becomes evil and he becomes actually the big bad. Okay? And this will actually be through Genova. And that's what's going to be the big twist of this game, is that Cloud is actually, he's too far gone, essentially. And Zack's going to be the one to try to help him come back to reality, but he's not going to be able to. And you're going to have to fight him and kill him, which is going to destroy people, because he's been the hero. For a bunch of years, he's been the hero. So, and I also think this, okay? The reason why I brought up Naruto previously is because there's a part in Naruto where you see kind of they're not called the Anunnaki. What the hell are they called? So there's a part in Naruto where the Akatsuki, you kind of see like their original formation with pain. You see kind of the ginger, the girl who does the paper stuff, and you see the main guy, the depressed redhead, okay? Who's clearly an Uzumaki, just saying. So, what's important here is that the hero who created the whole start of their rebellion, when faced with the fact of, you either die and end this rebellion, or I'll kill all three of you. Salamander King, I think is what his name is. Before Nagato can even think about what do I do, the freaking ginger guy jumps into the knife. Think about that kind of sacrifice. I think we're going to have something like that for Zack possibly, or for Aerith, where Sephiroth is going to come in while Aerith is praying for Holy to be released. And what we're going to see is not kind of like a weird thing like before, where he just kind of just floats in and we just move on to like random snowboarding. I think that what's going to happen, well, we layer in the thing, but in the water, but I think what's going to happen this time around is Sephiroth is going to either ambush Zack, or ambush Aerith, or ambush Cloud, okay? And he's going to give kind of that same option. I'll let you free, but one of you has to die or sacrifice it. And he's going to say either your life or her life. And instantly, before he even has the chance to like finish his sentence, Zack or Cloud is going to sacrifice themselves instantly, like the guy did in Naruto. That's kind of my view of what's going to be really happening. Because you can't just bring people back to life. It's kind of like Final Destination. Death comes for us all. No, that's not Final Destination. That's freaking... that's Ninja Assassin. Anyways, so that's kind of my view of how they could change the story, eliminate somebody they brought back, while also developing further. And then you could still have kind of like the idea of going to defeat Genova after that. Because what's clear to us in the new game is how crazy, I don't want to say crazy because I feel like it's overused, but we can see how Cloud wants to continually resort to violence through a lot of his actions to the point where Tifa says, I don't even recognize you anymore. Like when he's about to like think about in your head right now all the times where freaking Cloud almost killed somebody. Aerith at the Ancient's Temple, Johnny, Aerith again at the freaking altar where she's praying. And then he stops and he does the same thing. He brings this Buster Sword over his head and then never follows through. I think the reason why they're showing us that is because either there's going to be, the control is going to be so strong against Cloud that he's going to succumb to it. And then the party's not just going to forgive him. They're going to be like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? They're going to start to think that, oh, he's been compromised. There's no way this is the same Cloud as before. And I think that can also cause an internal conflict where all the parties trying to resolve it. And that if Cloud is this quote unquote from the original, a perfect clone of Sephiroth, that means that only Sephiroth could defeat him. Technically, with the information that we have. But I don't think that line of thinking is, at least in terms of defeating Cloud, I don't think that's kind of where the story's going. I think it's very clear that the story's going towards cellular degradation and back to the original Zack timeline, which would make perfect sense because that's what Genesis' whole thing was in the original game. I'm degenerating. How do I solve it? They leave clues and artifacts of the effects of cellular degradation. We see, so that's one example. Two, and that's in Crisis Core. Two, we see in FF7 Remake, President Shinra, when he sees us on the hologram after we blow up one of the reactors, he tells us, oh, you look familiar with those eyes. We all know the outcome of people who've been infused with Mako, cellular degradation. So he tells us there again. Next, when else do they talk to us about cellular degradation? In the most recent trailer, the new Doctor, or the new old Doctor, however you want to count it, because I don't count him as the old Doctor because I get it. He was in one of the books and you already know everything about him and blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm almost like a purist that you should be able to play the video game without any outside information and be able to figure out the entirety of the plot, because that's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. You don't have to go and buy extra books and buy this and buy that to understand the video game that you've already paid $100 for. It doesn't make any sense. So, my view is we have the answer. But to get back to, man, there's so many side points. To get back to the main kind of second part of part two of what the one timeline theory could be. I started to look at the timeline, okay? Is there any gaps in the regular timeline? Let's say I accept FF7 OG, it's not a dream, everything okay. Let's say I accept your version, okay? Could the one timeline theory still apply? And to me, yes, it could apply. One, because we accept that Zack does not die. So all this is on the hinge of Zack did not really die, okay? And what we can do is we can just look at this, or Zack didn't die yet, okay? So we can look at Zack carrying Cloud into Midgar up until the point where Tifa finds Cloud at the station in the slums, from the point of where you think Cloud left with the Buster Sword, okay, after Zack died. There's that gap of time where we have no idea what happened between Cloud just randomly waking up out of his Mako poisoning. Who knows how long it would have been that Zack's been laying there for, but clearly it must have been a half hour, an hour to fight all those people off. Cloud wakes up and just says, okay, I'll continue your legacy, and just drags the sword into Midgar. And then when Tifa finds Cloud, he's just wasted. Just like clearly still having some sort of effects. Is that still effects of the Mako poisoning? Like, these are the things we need to like, this is where I feel the answers need to be guided towards. Because if there's a gap between when Tifa finds Cloud and when Zack died in the original timeline, then that means if Zack's alive now, then there's still a gap between where Tifa finds Cloud at the slums train station still, which means from the point where Zack is carrying Cloud into the city to the point where Cloud is alone, Zack is missing, which means they could, if they just want to bring a fan favorite character back, they could just do that temporarily within that kind of timeline. And you could really do whatever you wanted. Side stories with smaller characters. You see freaking Elmira in the background of the trailer, so there could be that whole aspect also of, let me go see Aerith's mom because I went to the church and she's not there. So what would Zack's next obvious path be? Well, let me go see if she's at home. So those are kind of my initial thoughts and kind of what I think about kind of the timeline. My third kind of point that I just wanted to throw out there, just kind of like thoughts and theories, it might be what I just kind of named this episode because it is just a little bit everywhere. But the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about was I think they might be using Zack as a way to break Cloud out of his psychosis, kind of like how they used Tifa to break him out in the first game or in the original game. And I think that there's evidence to that because I realized there's this ring, this like, in the trailer, there's this ring in the sky that kind of looks like there's a golden kind of aura around where they are. And what I realized that is in Cloud's psychosis, when he's kind of chilling and talking with Tifa, there's that same kind of orange galaxy kind of ring that's at the bottom of his subconscious where the stones are, where he's kind of sitting on. And I was trying to kind of like, okay, kind of like George Lucas says, it doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
So I started to think like, okay, does this rhyme? Okay, instead of being up in the sky in a subconscious, we're on the ground in a subconscious. Okay, and what's separating the two worlds? The ring in the sky. There's a ring in the sky in the old game, there's a ring in the sky in the new game. So for me, it's like, okay, this is just, we're with Zack to try to resolve our concerns about the Mako poisoning until we're kind of freed up. But I would kind of be not as happy if we only get to play Zack in kind of like Rebirth. Like, I would appreciate it if they stick to the Loveless Zack timeline and they kind of allow us to find the final chapter of Loveless by playing through the game and getting the necessary answers. So I think that would be super fun, super important, and a way that you can make the game still very much the same with the same characters with just a kind of slight twist. So let me know your thoughts, criticisms, and ideas. Do you think that what I'm saying makes any sense? Do you think it's a whole crock of shit? Or are you like, oh, I can maybe see that. So hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you object, let me know where, when, and if you think I'm just delusional, in the comments below. Keep it respectful or not, up to you. I'll always respond with respect, but it's the internet, man. You can't trust anybody, especially me, the king of the one timeline theory. Shinra propaganda, Shinra propaganda, Shinra propaganda, Shinra propaganda. I'll catch you guys on the next one.